This girl next door found her place at the top of the Playboy empire, but did wedding bells sound a happily ever after for her and her 60-year senior beau, or did they herald the relationship's doom? Crystal Hefner was only 22 years old to Hugh Hefner's 82 when the pair were introduced at Hugh's 2008 Halloween party. Despite that age difference, the two clearly hit it off. At the time, Hugh had 3 women, former girlfriends Holly Madison, Bridget Marquardt, and Kendra Wilkinson living at the Playboy mansion, and Crystal later told the Futon Critic that she never imagined she would eventually end up moving in to take their place. As Crystal explained to the publication, there was a lot to learn about Hugh and his lifestyle. She said, "The other 3 girls were still living here when I first met Hef, so I had no idea what was going on. But it was so fun and I was just living for the moment." Crystal wasn't the only girlfriend in the mansion when she moved in. In fact, she shared her future husband with twin sisters Carissa and Christina Shannon. But she told the Futon Critic that doing so wasn't really hard for her. As she said at the time, she had an idea of what to expect. Hef explained his lifestyle ahead of time, so when I came in here, I knew either I'd like it or not. I like it and love everyone around. The 60-year age difference between Hugh and Crystal Hefner definitely caused a few raised eyebrows, and it's probably not too surprising that some people believed the 22-year-old was only interested in Hugh for his vast Playboy-related fortune. Crystal later told The Sun that she was hit with attacks from just about everywhere, with people overanalyzing nearly every aspect of her character and her relationship with Hugh. As she put it, "People would say I was a dumb blonde, a fake, a gold digger who didn't really love Hef. I suffered attacks on my relationship with him, on my looks, on my intelligence." Despite all the negative energy being thrown at her, Crystal persevered and joined the cast of The Girls Next Door after moving into the mansion. As she told the Futon Critic, her goal was just to be herself and hope that people eventually warmed up to her. Crystal Hefner and Hugh Hefner got engaged on Christmas Eve in 2010. Hugh was quick to announce the news on Twitter, saying, "When I gave Crystal the ring, she burst into tears. This is the happiest Christmas weekend in memory." The marriage was Hugh's 3rd and Crystal's 1st. However, things didn't kick off right away. In fact, Crystal called off the wedding. The first time she ended things between the two was in June 2011, when Hugh again returned to Twitter to announce simply the wedding is off. TMZ added fuel to the fire, claiming that Crystal had moved out of the pair's home following an argument. The news broke only 5 days before the two were supposed to get married in the first place. Crystal later explained to Entertainment Tonight that Hugh's lifestyle was the reason why she ended things, saying, "I wasn't the only woman in Hef's life. I didn't feel comfortable in my heart knowing that and getting married to him, because a marriage is between 2 people." She also added that having to work with lawyers to iron out a prenuptial agreement was stressful, and she said that she had never needed a lawyer before that experience. Eventually, Crystal and Hugh Hefner reconciled and went ahead with their wedding on December 31st, 2012. As shared by The Sun, the pair reunited after Hugh's secretary reached out to Crystal and told her that he hadn't gotten over her. Crystal told the publication that when she finally agreed to meet up with Hugh again, she realized he was a changed man. As she said, "When I went back in 2011, the most beautiful woman you'd ever see would walk in with everything on display, and Hef would say, 'Have you met my wife, Crystal?'" The Sun notes that the relationship seemed very positive and strong in the beginning, and Crystal explains that Hugh's turnaround made everything much better. As she put it, Hef had realized what was most important in life. Even it took him until he was 85, and he treated me completely different for the rest of his life. He treated me with respect. Of course, marrying Hugh came with a set of rules and expectations, particularly some that were in place to safeguard his massive fortune. Us Weekly noted that Crystal was required to sign an ironclad prenuptial agreement. Hugh Hefner certainly seemed like a changed man after he and Crystal got married. In January 2014, he waxed poetic about their marriage, telling Us Weekly that his wife put their relationship first before everything else. As he said, "I think the center of her life is us, and you can't ask for more than that. With the age disparity, I'm a very lucky cat. I'm very, very happy." He went on to add that despite having experienced marriage twice, this time around with Crystal was extra special. Hugh even added that he felt he had found true love with his young wife, something he admitted he did not expect to do so late in life. It certainly does seem that Crystal returned a genuine love for Hugh. Ahead of their wedding, she told Piers Morgan in an interview that fun was at the center of their union, and a big part of what drew her to her husband-to-be.
"I love Hef. He's the nicest person I've ever met in my entire life. I have so much fun with him."
Hugh Hefner's death in 2017 left Crystal a widow while she was still in her 20s. and that experience offered her the opportunity to reflect on her life and marriage with Hugh. She explained to the Daily Mail that the pair were so wrapped up in one another that after Hugh died, she felt lost, saying, "I didn't know how to move forward because I had become so ingrained in his world and I didn't even know my own identity." Crystal added that the marriage wasn't always easy, and that at least once Hugh told her if she began to have a life outside of their marriage, the marriage would cease to exist. As she put it, this meant she really leaned on her relationship hard, noting, "I came to rely on him so much that I didn't really have a life outside of him. At one point he told me, when you start doing things away from the relationship, that's when it ends." Following his passing, Crystal wasn't sure what to do next, but said that although moving on after his death was scary, it was also the right thing to do. Hugh Hefner was laid to rest on September 30th, 2017 during a ceremony that was only attended by Crystal, a few members of Hugh's staff, and his 4 children, Christy, David, Marston, and Cooper. In a statement released to People following the experience, Crystal said that being in a relationship with the media mogul had helped her in a number of ways, noting, "I will feel eternally grateful to have been by his side, holding his hand and telling him how much I love him. He changed my life, he saved my life. He made me feel loved every single day." Crystal also thanked the many people who had reached out to offer their condolences, apologizing for not having yet been able to reply to each of them. As she told People, the loss of her husband was just too much for her. It's estimated that Hugh was worth $50 million at the time of his 2017 death. As his wife, many assumed that Crystal would be left with the bulk of that fortune, but Hugh left most of his money to his children and charity. Per the Daily Mail, Crystal was given a $7 million payout along with a property Hugh had bought her worth $5 million. The publication also valued Crystal's engagement ring at $50,000. On January 10th, 2022, Crystal wrote in an Instagram post, "I was living for other people before, to make others happy, suffering internally in the process." After spending over a decade involved in the world of Playboy, Crystal is now in the process of reconnecting with who she really is. Alongside Instagram posts of her travels to places like Egypt and the Maldives, Crystal regularly shares introspective statements about her life. In one post, she said, "My photos may all look super polished, but I'm still figuring it out. Still figuring out who I am, what I want to do, the direction of my life." Part of her new journey involves removing what she calls everything fake from her body, as well as deleting older photos of herself that she no longer connects with. By making these changes, she shared that she is now, quote, "more authentic, vulnerable, and feel that I belong more to myself." Now that she's feeling more like herself, Crystal has also changed her social media presence to something that feels more genuine, saying in one post, "I used to be worried about what I posted on social media, even more so in the Playboy days. But now I'm just posting whatever makes me happy instead of curating things for engagement." When the Secrets of Playboy documentary series was released in January 2022, many women who had been involved with Hugh Hefner and the Playboy world came forward with stories of what really went on in the Playboy empire, and most of it is not good. Although Crystal has defended Hefner in the past, it appears that her relationship with her husband was more complicated than it appeared, and she now has her own stories to tell. In a February 2022 Instagram post, she wrote, "I'm an introvert at heart, and while the mansion in some ways was a sanctuary, in other ways I was exploited like never before. I've been on the fence about telling my story because it's complicated and conflicting in ways. But I think the best way to tell it is to be 100% honest and transparent." While there is currently no set date for when Crystal's memoir will be released, she said that she's teamed with Idea Architects, whom she calls one of the best literary agencies in the world.